Well, thank you very much. I do want to say that during the presentation, I am one of those guys that likes to talk, and so I know that sometimes a question or idea will bubble up to the top of your head. Please interrupt me. Let's talk about it then and there in the context of the situation, and maybe we can come up with some really cool ideas to kind of share with each other. So anyway, we're talking today about social media Mavericks, what they do, and new tips and tricks of the trade. Let's go through the outline of the presentation for you. First of all, we're going to talk about the social media explosion. It's been going on between 5 and 10 years now, but it continues to grow bigger and bigger. We're going to talk about corporate social media, which is something that will involve all of you with your own chambers. We're going to define what a social media maverick actually is and what they do. We're going to talk about some social media successes as well as some nightmares. You can totally screw up everything with social media if you don't know what you're doing. And then we're going to summarize those tips and tricks that we talk about. So let's go ahead and start with the social media explosion. We're going to talk about some of the major social media platforms, or channels as we call them, and kind of where they came from and how they're used today. Let's talk about Twitter first. It was launched July 15th in 2006. It now has 500 million registered users. Anybody here on Twitter? Anybody here actually tweet? Less hands. We'll talk about that. It exceeds 100 million active users every month now, yet it has 200 million users every day. Active are people that actually go on and they tweet. 200 will go and actually look and see what other people are saying, but not everyone tweets. They just go and they turn it into either a news source or what's going on in the world kind of a source, and so that's how they use it. 105 million users log into Twitter from their phone or their tablet each month. Anybody have a social media policy that says you cannot be on any social media whatsoever at your job? There's a lot of companies that try that, but unfortunately, everyone, it seems like these days, has the great equalizer in their pocket, which says, I don't need your computer to go onto social media, I'll just use my phone. And Twitter receives 400 million visitors a month. There are 410 million tweets posted per day. That's a lot of talking. There's 1.6 billion search queries done per day on Twitter. And the USA accounts for 26.8% of Twitter use. Asia is actually bigger. My business partner and I are in Asia quite a lot. We were just in China. We were in Thailand earlier this year. It seems like Twitter is their number one thing. It helps because China's actually blocked Facebook in most of the country. Although, interestingly enough, if you're in China, you can still get a hold of Facebook over your phone. Arab Spring, anyone remember that? It was fueled by Twitter, some coverage that allowed people to know what was going on outside the Arabian countries as they started to go through their, it seems like, non-ending cycle of uprising to overthrow their leaders. And 40% of Twitter users don't tweet every month, but they watch others. So it seems like even here in the room, we have people that watch what other people are tweeting, but they're not tweeting themselves. Okay, let's talk briefly about Facebook. It was launched February 2004. Did you see the social network? Kind of an interesting study of what you can do with your friends and try to take all their money. Now, as of May 2013, there's 1.1 billion active users on Facebook. Who's on Facebook? A lot more hands. In fact, who's not on Facebook? I was like, is there one person, one or two people? It seems like everybody's on Facebook. Who actually posts? Who posts on Facebook? Anybody here not post on Facebook? You just go on there to watch and see what other people are doing? It's very few. On occasion, you'll see someone that will be on there, but they never post. 1 in 8 people on the planet is actually on Facebook right now. So thinking about marketing yourself, why wouldn't you want to be in one of the largest audiences of the world? 71.2% of all Americans online are on Facebook, and it's growing every day. 1 million links are shared every 20 minutes on Facebook. 1.5 million event invites are shared every 20 minutes. Anybody here through your chambers page or group send out event invites? A few, not that many. We're located in Baldwin City, and we're members of the Baldwin City Chamber, and they do a very good job on their Facebook page of sending out invites to their events. It seems to work really well. 2 million status updates every 20 minutes. Anybody update their status while we're here? Boom, boom, I actually did in the back. Okay. 11.2 comments or million comments every 20 minutes. So you put something on your timeline, and there's 11.2 million comments every 20 minutes on Facebook. 3.1 million private messages sent every 20 minutes. There's an interesting thing going on in social media. There's a lot of texting, people text, but it seems like now, especially with younger people, Facebook has become the preferred way to communicate with people, to send instant messages as opposed to texting. One, because the phone companies charge ridiculous rates to be able to text, and two, Facebook is easy and it's free. 1.7 million wall posts every 20 minutes. 3.2 million photos were uploaded every 20 minutes to Facebook. 1.25 billion photos were posted on New Year's Eve last year, and it's going to be even more this year. So you think about, from a technical side, you got to have a whole lot of space to hold 1.25 billion photos of people partying, getting drunk, doing probably things that they don't want anyone to know about, but they can't stop themselves when they do it. And the average user creates 90 pieces of content per month. So think about yourself. Just think about you personally. How often do you post to Facebook? Anybody? A lot? A couple times a day? There's some people that do, like 10 times a day. I'm probably closer to that field, but okay, so think about your chamber. Who here, does anybody not have a chamber Facebook page? Okay, so you all do, but how many times do you post to that chamber page? 2 to 3 a day? Anybody do way less than that? Anybody like once a week, maybe once a month? Okay, well, there's one or two. It seems like you're actually using the chamber page, which is good, and we'll talk about likes and getting people to pay attention here in a little bit. Facebook is the second largest site on the internet behind Google. The largest fan page is the Texas Hold'em Poker. This is actually a couple of months old. I think it's more of like 52 million users right now. Anybody fans of Texas Hold'em Poker? Anybody play Texas Hold'em Poker? That's probably a good thing. 57% of all people online talk to people more on Facebook than they do in real life. That is very true, especially if you're under the age of 20, 21. A lot of times they don't even speak, it seems like. And the average user spends more than 15.5 hours per month on Facebook, but I think that number is going north very, very quickly as well. All right, YouTube. Any chambers have a YouTube channel? A couple? Any of them maybe do 1 or 2 videos occasionally on your chamber page? A couple? Okay. YouTube was launched in April 2005. Interesting story about why it was launched. One of the founders wanted to see Janet Jackson's top come off at the Super Bowl, and he couldn't find it online. So he got a couple of friends and said, let's start this website, and they created YouTube. And several $billion later, they have 1 billion active users currently. 92 billion videos are watched each month on YouTube. The average user spends more than 6 hours a month on the site, another number that is going north very quickly. More videos uploaded to YouTube in 60 days than the entire content created by all of the major television networks over the past 60 years. That's a lot of video. There's more than 600 tweets per minute containing a YouTube video link. Hey, go watch this video. I have a friend who set his cat on fire and whatever. The most watched music video on YouTube, of course, is Psy's Gangnam Style, which I know some people here actually like to do. It has more than 1.8 billion views. It just passed 1 billion earlier this year, and it's actually accelerating. So it used to be Justin Bieber, who I don't think has reached 1 billion yet, with Baby was the big song that he did, and then Psy from South Korea put out a music video that pretty much changed the world. In 2009, the president and Congress all created YouTube channels, so people are starting to see YouTube as a very legitimate way to be able to reach those users, to be able to put out their content or their message, and maybe so should you. LinkedIn. How many chambers here have a LinkedIn group? Not that many. It's probably the one place that you really should be if you're not. It launched in 2003. There are currently 200 million users, and it's growing pretty rapidly. Last year is 120. It gained 80 million just in the last year. There are 4 billion people searches in 2012. So if you're trying to find somebody, a lot of people use LinkedIn as a good way to find out if they'd make a good employee. It's a good way to find kind of more information than what they put in their resume or their CV. If LinkedIn were its own country, it'd be the 11th largest in population in the world. And browsers with a college degree 3 times more likely to browse LinkedIn than any of the others, Facebook, Twitter, and so it's going to be a highly educated crowd. Executives from every single Fortune 500 can be found on LinkedIn, so they're using it and it legitimizes its use. 74% of LinkedIn users have a college degree, and over a quarter of them have a graduate degree. 6 of 10 professionals turn to LinkedIn for professional networking over Facebook, Twitter, all the others. Okay, you may not have a group for your chamber, but how many actually have a profile on LinkedIn? Almost everybody here. 80% of the users belong to at least one LinkedIn group, which you guys should do for your chambers, and about 50% are actually active on them, actively participating. If you create a LinkedIn group, you can post job postings. Think about that for members of the chamber. You know, if they have any kind of a job posting, they can post it there for free. You can have discussions. You can talk about city politics. You can talk about taxes. You can talk about what should the chamber do? Where should the next chamber event be? Who should you get to come speak at chamber events? It's a good way to have an already built for you, completely free communication vessel for all of your members to chat with each other, and you can watch it, you can monitor it, you can even participate in that conversation. 73% of networking on LinkedIn is done by men. That means that it is a very, very, very male-dominated, so it's just one of the things that you kind of have to deal with and know that that's your audience there. And LinkedIn now has company pages, so not only can you have a group, but you can actually create a company page for your chamber so that people can find out more information about your chamber. It's the same stuff that you put on your website, but put it there because that's where a large audience already is. Yesterday, Inside Business released a new kind of a demographic study that they did of all the major social media things. Some things I wanted to point out. Facebook is still skewing young, but the 45 to 54-year-old age bracket has seen a 45% growth since the year end of last year. So people more our age, I guess, are joining Facebook. Among US internet users, 73% with incomes above $75,000 are on Facebook. That's a pretty good audience for you guys, compared to 17% that are on Twitter. So Facebook is more the upper end people. 86% of Facebook's users are outside of the United States. So remember that, it's international. Instagram, anybody use any Instagram stuff for their chambers? Anybody ever think about that? Instagram is a good video, kind of a place to post video snippets or pictures, photograph snippets, and a lot of chambers that I've seen around the country are using it to create like Instagram photo contests. You know, what's a good thing about our city? Go capture it, post it to our Instagram, and we'll have the city kind of vote on which is the best one. Twitter has a surprisingly young user population for a large social network. 27% of it is 18 to 29-year-olds in the US, compared to only 16% that are in their 30s or 40s. So Twitter is still skewing very, very young, and it is very international. LinkedIn, you knew, was international, and it's skewing towards the male users. We talked about that. Anybody do Google Plus? A little bit. Google Plus is the most male-oriented of all the major social networks, and it's 70% male. So with Google Plus, the thing to know is it's going to be mostly the kind of techie, geeky kind of a male crowd that's going to be there. Pinterest, anybody do Pinterest at all? Lots of people do Pinterest personally, and the interesting thing is almost everyone that raised their hand was a woman. Pinterest is dominated by tablet users. A lot of people use their iPads to go to Pinterest, and according to Nielsen, 84% of the US Pinterest users are women. So if women is a good demographic that you're going after, you need to be on Pinterest. And Tumblr, anybody use Tumblr? Anybody hear of Tumblr? Yeah, there's a few. Tumblr seems to be more of a younger skewing one. It's strong with teens and young adults. It's a place to where you can go bookmark websites and share it with your friends, things that you think are very interesting. And so Tumblr is a good place to maybe bookmark all of your members. their corporate websites and put it in there so if they go to your chamber and they click on your Tumblr account, they can get links to all of your chamber members to their websites. Some things that you can do there. But interestingly enough, while it's mostly young people on Tumblr, 8% of the US internet users have incomes above 75,000. So it's still a small crowd, but there's still a good crowd of high quality income people. So when we look at the social media explosion, we see that social media is now pretty pervasive in business. There's very few businesses out there that don't think of it as a legitimate way to be able to promote themselves. It's almost impossible to ban the social media in the workplace, which we talked about with the phone. And most businesses and organizations are using it for official purposes to be able to promote themselves. So let's talk about corporate social media. 71% of all US companies use Facebook for marketing, 59% are on Twitter, 50% blog, 33% YouTube, and 33% still use message boards. Do you guys have message boards? Anybody on their website? It seems like that one's dropping through the floor for a lot of legal reasons more than anything else. Successful companies in social media act like party planners. Hey, we're not this big, bad, multinational global company, but we're fun and we're cool and we're hip and we're young. Everyone's trying to get a little bit of an edgy feel to their marketing. And so that social media plays right into that. And if you think about it, we don't really search for products and services anymore. They kind of find us on social media. They find user groups or they find people talking about it. If you tweet, I was online to get on a Southwest plane and the service was horrible. Southwest will tweet you saying, oh my God, why? What happened? What can we do? They're looking for you. They're trying to make your life better. So they're using it as a way to communicate directly with their consumer. And then along those lines, 78% of consumers trust their peer recommendations. So as opposed to 14% over advertisement. If you see an advertisement, you'll think, could be cool. But if one of your friends say, dude, this is cool, you're gonna believe it a lot more. And social media plays into that. So if you have friends that are using social media to talk about how awesome a product or service is, you're more likely to believe them and to try it out. All right, social media mavericks. Had anybody heard the term social media mavericks before this? Yeah, a little bit? Doesn't seem many. Well, people ask, what is a social media maverick? Well, a social media maverick has 5 characteristics that we look at. First of all, leadership. They lead not only with their mouth, but with their actions. They're backed up by results from their actions. So a social media maverick is somebody who says, this is a great product or service, or, our chamber is the best in the world, and you should really try our networking events. They're the best, and when people come, they're right. And so they're leaders in the fact that they only really say things that are true and they can back them up. They're great teachers. They put out resources. They put out information that people come to trust, and therefore they want to be able to talk to them and learn more or follow them more. If your chamber is putting really great information about your city out or the members out, then they're going to want to listen to hear about more because they know that they can trust you. And they're great socializers. Not only are they good at social media here, but they're good at socializing with you at an event like this. It's not the person who's great online, but then they won't speak more than 3 words when you get face to face with them. It's somebody who's like, hey, how are you doing? And they're fun. They can do both. And so a social media maverick is someone who not only wants to meet you online, but wants to meet you face to face and show you that they're a pretty cool person anyway. They do have a little bit of salesmanship in their technique. They're here to pitch a product or a service, but it's not like selling. It's more like, this is so cool, you need to know about it. And I'm just telling you because I'm your friend. And so it's a salesmanship, but again, it's more about being truthful and being a resource as opposed to just trying to get you to buy a product or a service. And they have to be unique. They have to have their own style or their swagger. A lot of them that you see are kind of fun and edgy and crazy, and they're different. They're not somebody that you would normally run into in your regular life, or if you did, you just hang out with really cool people. That's kind of their brand, their personal brand. And so let's look at some good social media mavericks. The first one is Kickstarter. Anybody hear of Kickstarter? It's growing. You're going to hear more about it. The co-founders, basically, they said, let's take people that come up with cool ideas, products, movies, books, music, or whatever, but they don't have the big audience. And let's try to pair them with people that have money to get them in front of that big audience. And so they create a Kickstarter, and what they do is, let's say I create a widget. I create this wonderful widget that everybody thinks would be super cool. I go to Kickstarter, I create a page. I point out what the widget does, I do a video on why it's so awesome and how much money I need to be able to put it into production. And then Kickstarter, people come and they look through, they read everything that I put, and they either say, yeah, I'll buy that product for $200 or whatever the price is. And once you have enough generated to where you have enough people that have committed to buy the product, then you hit the threshold, everybody's credit card is charged, you get all that money, you put it into production and you sell it. It's a good way to put some good idea into production. In 2011, Kickstarter raised just shy of $100 million in funding for its projects. Most of the successful apps, or the most successful apps, are the ones that have video, that use social media, like online video explaining who I am, how I came up with this idea, why it's a great idea or a great product, and why you should buy it. So they're using social media as a way of trying to sell this product or idea. They also created a film festival. There are a lot of people that do movies. They create a movie, but they don't have any kind of distribution channels. And so what they're doing is they're trying to get enough people to buy into producing the movie so that they can put it out there in front of a large public audience, and then hopefully it pulls a Mel Gibson and it sells $3 or $4 billion worth of tickets and everybody's rich and they're happy. So what Kickstarter did is they realized that a social media maverick not only meets you online, but wants to meet you face to face. So let's get the filmmakers together, we'll create a festival all over the United States, and we'll give them a chance to screen their film in front of 800 or 1,000 people. So it gives them a unique chance to be able to really share what it is their vision is, and it gives the people that come a chance to see whether it's something that they want to put money into. And it bridges both of those social sides, the online side and the personal side, and creates magic a lot of times. Reuters is another example. Anthony DeRosa is the social media editor at Reuters. He's not famous yet. He has 25,000 Twitter followers and over 150,000 Tumblr followers. This is a guy who, before he was hired by Reuters, decided that as Arab Spring was happening or as other big major news events are happening, he would scour Twitter and Facebook and other things, Flickr, other social media networks, to try to piece together a story. And with the pictures and the tweets and all that, he would be able to corroborate what was true and what was not, and then he'd be able to put together a really great story as what's happening in this specific event, and have corroborated tweets, have pictures from Flickr feeds or videos from YouTube, and put it together as a very compelling news story well before the major news networks got it and put it online. So Reuters saw that, saw him amass this really, really big following, and they hired him. And now he's the guy that does this for them, but he also teaches other people how to do it as well, to try to get our news media and to get and journalists a little bit quicker on the uptake, so that you don't have situations like CNN that runs tweets saying, oh my God, it's giant and it's walking down Manhattan, and they discover it was a fake. Next, it's a restaurant in Chicago. This is an interesting concept. This restaurant, every 90 days, changes its theme entirely. So we might be Italian for 90 days, then we're gonna switch, and we might be Mexican, and then we might be Thai, and then we might be continental European, anything. Well, the thing that's interesting about this restaurant is that they only announce what the changes are gonna be via Twitter. So if you don't follow them on Twitter, you have no idea what you're getting into. You can't actually go to the restaurant and just have a meal and pay for it. You have to buy it in advance. You have to tell them when you want to come, how many people you want to bring, and they tell you the price and you buy it in advance. And they use social media to promote everything that they do. They tweet menu items, they tweet pictures of the food to build up that excitement about, wow, next is about to change, what's it going to be? And when they do the announcement, everybody rushes to their server to buy advance tickets so that they actually go and eat in that 90-day window that they have for that theme. Well, when they announced their Thai selection, that they were going to do Thai for 90 days, within 5 minutes of the tweet, they crashed their registration server because 20,000 unique users actually tried to log in to buy a seat. And so they're using social media to build anticipation. It's one of the best things in marketing. You can't get this. You're not good enough. You'll never get there fast enough. It's too expensive. No, it's just not going to work for you. Tell somebody no, and human nature is going to say, I want it even more. And so next is one that uses social media to create great anticipation, and they're sold out all the time. City of New York, social media maverick. Rachel Stern is the Chief Digital Officer of New York City. She's only 28 years old. And she dreams up bigger and better ways to use social media to promote New York City, why it's a better place, to create events for people to get together, like-minded people, to talk about all sorts of different things. Since she joined the city of New York, they now have over 200 social media channels, outlets that they put it out. So they put it about as wide as anybody that we've seen. They do all sorts of digital outlets that they can do. To give you an idea, some examples of the things that they've done, they held a hackathon to redesign their website, nyc.gov. What they did is they essentially said, okay, you think you're a good web designer? We need you to be at such and such warehouse for 24 hours. We're locking the doors, you're not getting out. And when you're done, the best design wins. And so people did. They worked 24 hours together in teams, and they came up with tons of new designs for nyc.gov, and in the end, everybody voted on one. That became the winning design, and that's the one they used. So they took one segment of the population and created an event just for them that ended up working for them because they essentially got a free website design out of the deal, but they got a lot of people very interested in nyc.gov, going to see what the new design was, going to see what the new features were. They've also incorporated SMS into their social media strategies. So think about that. How'd you like to have a chamber event and you're sending out 1,000 texts right before, hey, tonight's the night, remember such and such place, such and such time, you gotta be there. So they use SMS, a great way to be able to go out and directly touch people that they're trying to get to in their audience. So let's talk about some successes in social media to remind you just what it is at stake that you can do. Old Spice YouTube campaign. It's kind of funny. I gave this presentation yesterday to the exec for the Baldwin City Chamber, who's not a member, and I'm telling her she has to join or else. And she goes, oh, I hate the Old Spice campaign. That guy is so creepy. He is. He's totally, totally creepy. He's the creepiest guy on the planet. But when you watch the videos, you're like, how did they do that? You know, where's the digital magic that does all this? So even though it's a little bit odd, totally creepy, and that guy's like, yes, I want to steal your wife, and it's great. You pay attention. You always know immediately what the brand is. Well, when they did that campaign, more people watched his videos in 24 hours on YouTube than anybody, all the combined people who watched Obama's first presidential victory speech, which was like a big historic moment in our history. Old Spice totally trumped that. Total video views reached 40 million in the first week. Campaign impressions for the entire length of the campaign, 1.8 billion impressions. And largely it was free. They paid for the creative, they put it online, boom. That many people went and looked at it, and they look at it again and again because they try to figure out, how did they do that? Why is this guy so creepy? What are they really trying to say here? Is there subliminal messages? You know, I mean, it cuts across so many different ways, but it's a great social media campaign. And since it was launched, Old Spice body wash sales are up 27% overall in the last 3 months, up 55%, and just in the last month, 107%. How'd you like to have those numbers? Barack Obama's first presidential campaign. Great social media success. He had 5 million friends on more than 15 social networking sites, which was completely unheard of at the time. He had 13 million email subscribers, so he could send out messages. Hey, I'm gonna be in Manhattan, Kansas tonight. Come and see me. Hope you can, join my message. He also got a lot of people following him on Twitter. He also got text numbers. Give me your cell phone and I'll text you when I'm gonna be around. Genius. 8.5 million monthly visitors to mybarackobama.com at its peak, 3 million online donors. So if you think as a chamber, trying to sell tickets to something or trying to get donations for some cause, just replicate this campaign. Blendtec. Anybody hear of a Blendtec blender? These suckers are expensive. It's like $1,000 or more for a blender. But they do the Will It Blend. And what they do is every time some really, really cool new gadget comes out, such as the iPhone 5S, that I stood in line for 4 hours to buy, they will get one and they will blend the crap out of it with their blender to see if it will blend. They literally will put it in, zzz, it explodes, there's lots of sparks, it's really cool, and it ends up being powder that you can't breathe or you'll die. But anyway, they won .NET's magazine's 2007 viral video campaign of the year, and they still do it. They won the bronze level Clio award for viral video in 2008. They garnered more than 200 million hits, and we don't have their sales numbers because they don't release it, but they say that they've had a healthy boost in sales of their $1,000 plus blender. So, wow. OfficeMax, elf yourself. This is one most people do. Have you ever elfed yourself and your friends? Yeah, what you do is you take pictures of you and some friends and you cut out the head and it's the dancing elves, and they've done derivations since then. But every year you always get the email from a friend saying, oh my God, I elfed you, check this out. It was a 2006 holiday campaign, that's when it was launched. It led to the creation of more than 122 million elves during that holiday season. It's getting bigger and bigger each year, it's over 1 billion now. And is it selling product? I don't know. But are you more aware of OfficeMax and do they have that brand recognition? Definitely. Social media nightmares. You can screw this up. Domino's Pizza. Conover, North Carolina employees uploaded a video showing preparation of pizzas and sandwiches, April 2009. They were urinating and spitting on the pizzas and the sandwiches. It got more than 1 million views. That Domino's Pizza doesn't exist anymore. It happened pretty quickly, actually. Southwest Airlines, Kevin Smith. They pretty much said, dude, you're way too fat. You cannot fit in that seat. You have to buy 2 seats. Well, Kevin Smith is a director of several large films. He's well known. He had more than 1 million Twitter followers, and he started saying, Southwest Airlines thinks I'm too fat. What the heck? They ended up apologizing quite profusely, but the damage had already been done. Chrysler tweet. Can you see it? An ad agency, some dude, totally thought he was posting to his own personal account. No, he was posting to the Chrysler account, and you shouldn't tell people in the Motor City that they don't effing know how to drive. They were fired. Naked football coach. This one happened just last year. High school football coach in Maine posts his naked photo on Facebook. He thought he was sending it to a friend, but he posted it on his public timeline. Now, he didn't have any students as his friends, but he sure had a whole lot of parents. And it was only on for 10 minutes before somebody messaged him and said, what the hell? And so he took it down, but it didn't matter. The parents saw, they freaked, they didn't want to see the naked coach, and so he was forced to quit. You can screw up social media. United Breaks Guitars, the rock band Sons of Maxwell, were going through Chicago, which is a horrible place to fly. But they looked outside and said, dude, that guy's throwing your guitar. And the guitar was broken. It had $3,500 damage. And then United said, it wasn't us. And so they wrote a song, made a video, put it on YouTube called United Breaks Guitars. 4.5 million viewers later in the first week. And United's like, sorry. Comcast sleeping on my couch. Comcast repairman came to a home to fix their Comcast. He was put on hold by Comcast. He fell asleep for 2 hours. And the homeowner filmed it and put it on YouTube. 1.3 million visitors later, Comcast is like, yeah. The Motrin baby slingers. Motrin put a YouTube ad out there that suggested that holding babies in the slings caused a lot of pain, and so you needed Motrin. Mothers freaked out about it. Then the bloggers joined in, and it caused a bunch of negative apologies, so they had to pull the campaign and they had to apologize for it. These are caused because there's a dearth of common sense, especially when it comes to social media. So when you're choosing someone to do the social media for yours, and generally it's probably you yourself, but if you do have someone that's doing it, make sure that they know what the hell they're doing. There's a lack of boundaries. Social media is very edgy. It's friendly. It's, hey, I want to reach out and hug you. Well, you can screw that up sometimes if you have the wrong person there who doesn't realize we are a brand and we need to maintain the level of that brand. You got to manage their use versus educating versus warning. You have to make sure that they know what's too much and what's too far and not to go that far. It can also cause issues if they say something wrong about somebody in the community. Defamatory or libelous, remember libel is in writing, slanders when they actually say it. Communications Decency Act provides some immunity. If you were to say something that could be interpreted as slamming a business or a person in your community, not something that you necessarily want on a chamber social media channel. And remember who owns the accounts. This is not your personal account, it's the chamber's account. So let's summarize some tips and tricks, some of the things that we talked about just generally throughout. Use more than one social media channel. Don't just be on Facebook, be on Twitter, be on YouTube, be on Flickr, be on every single thing that you can do if it makes sense. Look at who is actually on those. If your community is mostly men, well then that's an interesting community, but if it were mostly men, then stay with the men heavy, don't necessarily run to Pinterest. If you want to try to reach a lot of women in your community, Pinterest should be your number one that you're trying to put stuff on. Tie all your channels together. Don't put different things on different social media channels. It should be one congruent message. Keep that eye on congruency among the channels in your message, so make sure that you're saying the same thing everywhere. You can change how you say it so that it's hitting your target audience a little better, but say the same thing. Create events around your social media to give that live chance. You know, think about it. Your chamber members probably want to meet people in the community. So talk about things, talk about your members, talk about, you know, use social media to promote your members. Maybe every week do a different member, do an interview with them or whatever, and then have a meeting or a get together at that business so that people from the community can come and actually meet them and give them that face-to-face in addition to the online version. Utilize video as much as you can in social media. You want to be able to give them a chance to break through that interpretation. If you read something or you see a picture, it's still left into interpretation. With video, you get all the nuances. Feature your social media on your chamber's website. If you have a chamber website and you're not talking about your social media, it's tough for people to make that connection. Give it personality. Don't be very, very dry, very, this is our brand and you will do as we say. Make it a little edgy, and edgy is too strong of a word. Make it fun, give it personality, but don't choose the wrong person to do it, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare. Get buy-in from your local members, promote them, get them to promote you, because chances are they're using social media as well. Have them talk about the fact that they're hosting a chamber event, or they're going to a chamber event, or they love the chamber, or that it's a great way to meet and network with other people in your community. And feature local members to get more followers, because if you're promoting a member and they promote you, hopefully all of their followers will then jump on to you and you'll have a bigger group of people following you. Lead your community in social media. Think about it. You kind of are the leaders of your communities anyway. It's the place that all the businesses go to be able to network with each other and get better and take advantage of some perks that you have in your community. So why shouldn't you lead them in social media as well? All right, well, thank you guys for listening.